So it's my last day on the strip at the press launch of the BMW i5 and i7 full electric vehicles. I have a late flight, so BMW have been kind enough to give me an i5 M60 for the day essentially, and I decided to take it for a ride. I'm going to be telling you a bit about the driving experience, and not only about this drive but what I felt these past few days in both of these cars. And my name's Luke. Welcome to another episode of The Future is Electric. So of course this is the top of the line model. It is the i5 M60. It has over 600 horsepower. It is dual motors, one in the front, one in the rear, all-wheel drive. However, critically, and this is a very nice touch by BMW, when you're cruising, front motor is not engaged. Front motor becomes engaged when you want the extra power, but for cruising they activate the rear motor only, so we still get that BMW pushing feeling as you glide over the roads here. Now of course, the first thing you will experience if you get to try this car is the sheer amount of power and the amount of rapid torque you of course get being an electric vehicle, because you press on the pedal and it just jolts forward. It's a beast. And the cool thing here, and I really like this, so if you're following the channel, you know that most electric vehicles on the market have what is called a permanent magnet synchronous motor. We've also seen what's known as induction motors on the channel. So in the Tesla Model Y, for example, or in the Volvo, the two cars which are all-wheel drive, the front motor is generally an induction motor. But here BMW do something completely different from the rest of the industry. They are in fact alone in this in the industry, so no one else is doing this, at least yet. So they're using what's known as a brushed AC motor. So yes, that means this motor does use brushes, like some old electrical appliances basically, which means yes, those brushes will need to be replaced eventually. However, there are some critical advantages to this type of motor in an electric vehicle design. So for starters, there is no permanent magnets, so the electric motor is rare earth material free, which I assume makes it easier and definitely more sustainable.
200 meters onto road 75.
I have to turn right.
Now turn right onto road 75.
All right, bear with me. All right, what was I saying? Yes, so no rare earth materials. The brushed AC motor also handles higher temperatures better, so hot climates this motor is going to perform better. Also, because it handles heat better, it doesn't need to be cooled at the same amount as say permanent magnet motors, which means the cooling technology is a bit easier on this type.
Please leave the roundabout at the second exit and continue to follow road 75.
Sorry for the interruption here. On this motor design. So another thing, and this is for, let's be honest, a supercar, which is what this is, right? This actually probably makes a lot of sense. And I'll be honest, my experience driving electric vehicles, although I've driven plenty at this point, is mainly in Malta, where we have no highways, so the speeds are limited. But here we've gotten to drive this car on the Croatian highways, right? So we did get some speed up. And a key point about this brushed AC motor is that it is extremely controllable at different speeds, particularly at higher speeds. So permanent magnet synchronous motors, when you get to the higher speeds, there is something a bit complicated which I won't go into in this video, which starts to happen inside the motor, which sort of restricts its ability to go faster. That doesn't happen in a brushed AC motor, which means even at high speeds you're gonna be able to get more power and more torque. And you know, I did actually feel this on the highway, because irrelevant of the speed you are, you press the gas and she goes. So another thing I really liked while driving this car, now I do not have it in regen mode, so regen is turned off. It's just on the normal cruising mode, and it's very subtle. It cruises like any internal combustion car, to be honest. When you do engage that regen mode, it is a one pedal driving mode, so the car does come to a complete halt. But I think the thing that impressed me the most, and we've seen this on a few vehicles, but I'll be honest, I've never experienced it to the level that I'm feeling it here,
second exit onto road 75.
Here in this car. Basically, it's the adaptive regen. There you go. So I'm approaching a roundabout. I didn't even press the brake yet, and the car automatically started to decelerate for me. And it does this when approaching roundabouts because it knows the map. It does this in traffic, so if it sees that the traffic in front of me is slowing down, it's going to automatically regen and slow down the car for me. And as I said, this is part of the driver assist features as well, but more than that, this is the regen kicking in and charging the car to get the best possible range out of this battery and motor combination. So I think they've done an excellent job tuning that in here. Pula. I'm going to Pula. So Pula is a town south of Rovinj, where the press event was held in Croatia. And basically it's a 45-minute trip. I didn't want to go too far. And then it's 45 minutes back, of course. But I'm told it's a nice place, so Pula it is. So you may have noticed I had the driving sounds off, but I've definitely turned them back on now. So this is basically the driving sounds the car makes when you accelerate and decelerate change based on the driving mode you select. So I'm currently in expressive, and if you don't know, the sounds for the BMW was composed by none other than Hans Zimmer. And if I just accelerate a bit here, you will definitely know who this composer is. So if Inception comes to mind or Dark Knight Rises comes to mind, that's because he's the guy who's behind those soundtracks, and he's composed the sound for the BMWs. I think it's a nice touch. This one's probably a bit excessive. I'd keep this for like a little party trick, but I think the standard mode is probably the one which is tuned in the best. It's really the sound an electric motor actually makes, just beefed up quite a bit, so you actually hear it. It's this futuristic hum, which I like, right? I also miss the sound of a V8, right? I like that as well, but let me tell you, this is the sound of the future, so get used to it. Alright, so I've made it to Pula.
In 200 meters, at the roundabout, take the second exit and stay on Riva.
And nice Croatian town, actually. And now I've actually connected Apple CarPlay. Works very nice. It uses the full size of the screen here. So I'm going to using the Google Maps to get back to Rovinj. The native apps of BMW are a bit of my complaint. Wasn't too happy with them, using them these past days, but it's generally the case with all the maps that come with the car brands. I think they just give Google Maps a standard. So I've got that running now. It looks, the screen looks absolutely gorgeous, right? So let me tell you a bit about the charging for the i5 and i7. So they both come with 11 kilowatts AC as standard. You can upgrade to a 22 kilowatt charger as well. In terms of DC, they have 200 kilowatts of DC charge power, so that's pretty good. That's good enough to charge the cars in around 30 minutes off the top of my head. But one interesting thing I found here is that the i5, right, which I'm in at the moment, versus the i7. The i7 has the battery is 20 kilowatts hour larger, right? That means it's essentially like a first gen Nissan Leaf battery added onto it. Despite that fact, the charging time is still exactly the same between the i7 and the i5 on DC rapid charging. How are they achieving that? Well, they're achieving that because they have definitely some clever software. My guess is the battery cells are different between the two cars. I haven't found that documented yet. And basically you get the same charge time despite it being a larger battery. They're able to really handle well what's known as the charge curve. So on a DC rapid charger, basically when you charge the car, we're always quoted the maximum speed, right? So 200 kilowatts. But the car only reaches that amount for a short period of time. It will then start to slow down the amount of power it's getting. But if you control the charge curve and delay the slowdown, so to speak, then you're going to get a faster charge time. And that's exactly what they're doing in the i7, which, despite, as I said, having a larger battery, significantly larger battery, charges in the exact same amount of time. Nice job, BMW. I'd like to thank BMW for this incredible experience and Muscat Motors. I've gotten to learn not only about the i5 and i7 cars over this trip, but also about what BMW are doing in terms of sustainability and recycling of these raw materials, particularly in the batteries, going forward. I think this is designing from that principle is definitely the way to go. But as always, I hope me and the BMWs have convinced you that the future is electric. Subscribe.